Okay, so today I'm going to be introducing CSS because someone asked for a video on CSS. So I'm going to be introducing CSS in this video, and hopefully I'll be making more videos about it. So since there is not much time, I'm just going to be using the lessons from this course to teach it. So introduction to CSS. CSS is what gives your HTML content style. Whilst HTML structures your web page, CSS makes it look good, controlling the colors, fonts, spacings, layout, and more. Think of HTML as a skeleton and CSS as the skin, clothes, and style. This module will give you a solid foundation in CSS, helping you to understand how it works and how to apply it to your web pages effectively. Now, what is CSS? CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheets. It's a style language used to describe the presentation of an HTML document. With CSS, you can change fonts, colors, and text styles and text sizes, add borders, control layouts using flexbox, grid, and positioning. Make your site responsive for different screen sizes. So, example of CSS. This is called inline CSS. Right, when you put CSS in HTML. Right. So now we are going to CSS syntax and selectors. CSS syntax. A CSS rule has two main parts: the selector and then the declaration block. This is the selector and this is the declaration block. Right. So example, this is a P, this is targeting a paragraph element, and then this is a declaration block. And what it's saying is make the color of the text blue and the font size 16 pixels. Right. This example styles all P elements, all paragraph elements, to have a blue text and 16 pixels font size. So because I want this to be practical, I'm going to copy this and I'm going to take it to Visual Studio Code so that you can see what they are talking about. So now I'm in Visual Studio Code, and the first thing I'm going to do is to create the basic structure of every HTML file. So I have already created the files, so I'll just press Shift 1 and enter. Right, and then I put the paragraph element, and I type this is text, right? Then I give it a I don't need to give it a class. I'll just save it and then copy this here, and then when I run it in a browser, you are going to see that the font size will be 16 and the color of the text will be blue. So we are here in the browser, and the font size might be 16, but the text is definitely not blue. So what is the problem? So let's go to Visual Studio Code, and the problem is we have not linked the CSS to the HTML. So always remember to link your CSS file to the HTML. All we have to do to do that is just we use the link elements, right, and the name of the file, and it should work now. You can see that the text has changed. So that's just a practical example of CSS in action. So let's go back to the course to continue the lesson. So now we are looking at types of selectors. Right. So element selector, this targets HTML elements. Like you can use it to target HTML elements like h1, like div, like p. And then class selectors, it uses dots right before the class name. You understand? So if you want to target class selectors, you have to use dots whenever you want to write the CSS rule for it. And then we have ID selectors. This uses hash. Right. The difference between class and ID selectors is that class can be used multiple times, but ID selectors can only be used once, so it's unique. And then we have universal selectors. And then we also have, this is what we use to identify universal selectors. This means everything in the web page is going to be selected. So whatever CSS rule you put into this place is going to affect everything in the web page. We also have group selectors. It targets multiple elements. So in case you want to target more than one element, right, instead of using the normal element selectors, you separate different elements tags with a comma, right? So you're selecting multiple elements. And then next we have inline, internal and external CSS. So these are just ways of putting CSS, or these are ways of introducing CSS to your web page. The first one is inline. This is the easiest, right? These are written directly in the HTML tag. For example, I'm just going to copy this and I'm going to show you an example of it, right? We'll save that for later. So these ones are very easy. They are for small editing, like something that wouldn't take too much space, but you can't use it if you want to do heavy styling. You can't use inline CSS for that. And then, like you said, they're used only for quick one-time styles, not recommended for full projects. We also have internal CSS. The styles are written in a style tag inside the head of your HTML element, of your HTML document. So before we see this one in action, let's go to Visual Studio Code, and then I'm going to paste this. I'm going to save it. And then after I save it, I'm going to go to the browser, and then you can see that exactly what we put there is what shows up. Welcome, and the color is purple. So this is just a way of introducing CSS to your web page. Then let's also see this one in action. This style, the internal CSS. Let's break here. I'm going to paste it. I'm going to save it and run it in the browser. Okay, something called zero. They actually changed. So let me do something. Font size, pixels. Right. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make the text bigger, so you can see that the color has actually changed. You can see that the color is not blue again, it's teal. Understand? So this is the color now. If I should change it to red, the color of the text will also change to red. So you can see now that it also obeys this form of CSS, this form of writing CSS. You understand? So let's go back, and then this is the external CSS. I don't need to explain this one again because I've already practiced this one. Right, this where styles are written in a separate .css file and linked to HTML. This is the link elements I've shown you earlier, so there's no need to practice this one again. So as you can see, that is written here, best practice for most web projects, keeps code clean and reusable. So this way of introducing CSS is the best, especially when you're dealing with heavy projects. Now let's move on. Linking CSS to HTML. To use external CSS in your HTML file, place this line in the head. I've already done that and I'm showing you how to do that. So make sure your CSS file is in the right direction and named correctly. Linking CSS allows you to apply styles across multiple pages using the same file. So this is simply saying that you might link your CSS using the link element and it might not work. Maybe because the name you typed in was not the actual name of the file. Maybe you missed the word, or the file path that you're supposed to put there, you made a mistake while putting it. The reason why I'm only writing the name is because the CSS file is in the same folder as my HTML file. If the CSS file were to be in another folder, I will have to not just write the name but also the file path to that CSS file, like tracking that CSS file, right, so that I can get the information I want from it. But since it's in the same folder, I just need to write the name. That's what that line is trying to explain. So conclusion, we are just taking a first step into the world of styling web pages. With CSS, your plain HTML turns into something visually appealing. Now that you understand what CSS is and how to use it, you are ready to move forward with deeper styling techniques and layouts. Keep experimenting. The best way to learn CSS is by using it in your projects. So this is the video that is recommended for more understanding. If there's anything that you don't understand or you just want to know more about CSS fundamentals. Now the next topic is text and styling, but I might not be able to cover it today. I'm just going to give you a glance. Right, this is just telling you different ways of adding text or editing text or styling text, whatever English you want to use. Right, so you can determine the font family, like the font style, like Times New Roman, any other font style that you want. The font size, you can determine it. The alignment, the color of the text, which we have seen before, the alignment, center, right, left, justify. Right, the decoration, we can put none, we can put underline, line through, overline. Right, you can also put text transform. If you want it to be uppercase, all capital letters, lowercase or capitalized. You can do a line height, spacing and different things, and this is the video. So maybe I'll cover this in the next video.